Hey, what's going on, you guys? Welcome back to Forgiven AF Podcast. Remember, we use this for marketing material for our mentorship. Well, now it's more than just a mentorship. Now it's a mentorship for the youth and the fresh out side of it, the branch that's going to be for guys getting out of prison to help them get back on track and kind of help them with like resources. So that's our new part that we just started. Brian Burns, who was on last week or 2 weeks ago, is the director. So he's going to help me get this thing cranking. We're super excited about that because it's such a need. So many men get out of prison or just lost the same way these young men get kicked out of school and they don't really know what to do at that point. So we're trying to hit it from both sides. Maybe we could stop them before they get to prison and help them once they get out. So I'm super excited about that. This weekend, so this coming Saturday, we have our community service event. So we're going to meet here at the gym at 11, and we're going to take all the boys we have like a highway that we adopted, and they've got signs up that say like this street is adopted by Second Chance Mentors. So it's pretty cool. And we'll clean up trash, just make it look nice. Cause last time I drove down the street, it was looking kind of rough. So I felt kind of bad that this says adopted by Second Chance Mentors and there's like trash all over the street. So I felt convicted because we've been trying to do other things with the community service stuff, like helping other people out, or we went to the Mansfield Mission Clinic and last time and redid their flower bed one time. Another time we went back there and trimmed all the trees and got rid of all the trees. So I'm just trying to switch it up so it's not always just picking up trash on the side of the street. But we're back to that this week. Y'all, I'm super excited about this episode today. Jeff Mercier actually is who our guest is today. He actually, when one of our second times we went to Topgolf, or it might have been the first time we went to Topgolf with all the boys, he actually came and hung out with the boys, and it was cool because they were able to see, I don't know how to say this, not to be weird, but he's a good looking dude, good shape. The boys see that and they get excited. They're like, oh man, there's guys that can still be cool and do good, So it was cool to have him and meet all the boys in that aspect. But then I've been following him since then. And man, all the things that you're doing, dude, is really incredible. I'm really proud of you. You're doing like all the speaking stuff you're doing, all the social media stuff you're doing with good, positive content. Yep. You're pushing people to, get out of their comfort zone and do, man, I'm really,
consistently.
Your message is awesome. So
I appreciate it.
If you could just kind of take over before we get into like what the meat and potatoes of the podcast could be, if you could kind of give our listeners just kind of a quick rundown of who you are, where you're from type stuff.
Sure. My name's Jeff Mercier. And I moved all over, man. I was born in Florida. I lived there for about 6 months. And so then I moved to Texas. So I don't really claim Florida. Moved out to Athens, grew up in Athens, Texas. And if you're not very familiar with it, there's nothing out there.
Yeah, I don't even know where that is.
Yeah, I know. I used to travel outside of it. And people were so unaware of what Athens was. They're like, Athens, Greece? I'm like, Athens, Texas. Yeah, you can get a full European trip in Texas.
It's
Athens,
true. They got Paris.
And so I grew up out there, man, and there just wasn't much out there. I went out there until I was, I don't know, maybe in middle school, and there were maybe like 35 kids in my middle school, so it was small.
Yeah.
And so I grew up out there, and when I was growing up, man, I kind of had a little bit of a rough childhood. My mom, she had a really rough life, and so she was loving me the way that she knew how to love me. But it was a rough love. And, my dad, he didn't really understand how to be a father either because he had a rough life. Obviously people who, they have bad childhoods, they normally get together and, it's just kind of how it is until you learn how to change that. And so my father really wasn't around as much. And so I moved back and forth between, her house and his house. Anyone who comes from a divorced family they understand kind of what that's like.
Yeah, that's rough.
And so eventually I moved out to Arlington, Texas. I started going to Bowie and I got into wrestling. And I loved it, man. I loved wrestling. I loved wrestling when I was young. It was still a team sport, but it was very individual.
Yeah.
So I had the opportunity to really kind of do what I wanted to do. Man, the coach was kind of like a father figure to me. And it was just one of those really important moments, and then looking back on it, I understand like the importance of the moment, maybe not so much when you're kind of, struggling and unsure what to do with yourself.
Let me dig in real quick before you keep going. When you say the coach was like a father figure to you, like what sort of things, because, I love the mentorship aspect and that sort of aspect. What sort of things did he do or did he bring into your life that you didn't have?
He was a strong, positive male role model, and he treated those kids like he treated his own kids.
That's awesome. Yeah.
You know, like, so it wasn't just me, it was a whole wrestling team. But I mean, everyone knew Coach Mudgett. If you're from the area, you know Coach Mudgett, man. And he was a good man. He was a Christian man. And he treated us like we were his kids, man.
I love that.
And it meant a lot.
And it literally can like change a kid. You know what I mean? You have one influence like that, it can change them. Sorry to interrupt. I just thought that was cool.
No, you're good. And so, man, at about the age of like 15 is kind of when I started going off the rails, man. That's kind of when I got into drugs and sex. And, you know, I didn't have a male role model. And what I started doing was I started looking for male role models. Yep. You know, so I'm 15, hanging out with 20, 25-year-olds. You know, they're hustling, selling, dealing. You know, they have women over at the house all the time. You know, so I mean, obviously, that's what men are supposed to do, right? You know, hustle, take drugs, drink, you know, sleep around, mess with women. And so I got into that, you know, 15, real young, and just kind of, you know, no one could stop me, man. My parents were kind of, you know, my dad was absent in what he was trying to do. And my mom, you know, it was kind of a, you know, love me more parent type relationship.
Yeah.
And so I got away with a lot that I should have not gotten away with. And so by the time I was right before my 18th birthday, my dad passed away. He passed away from cancer, and it was pretty quick, man. It took about 6 months, and it was that was definitely one of the most significant moments in my life, because I just basically went AWOL as far as like emotionally.
Instead of dealing with it, you just kind of turned.
I ran.
Yeah.
I ran, man. They have some pictures and stuff from back in the day, or, you know, my stepmom, I still talk to her, you know, and she would say while we were in the hospital, man, I was disconnected, right? I'd be in the hospital chair, just scooting back and forth, not even paying attention to what's going on, you know, because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so when that happened, man, I went off. I got real heavy into drugs. I think by like 18, you know, I was addicted to cocaine. By 21, 22, I was shooting meth, snorting heroin, you know, hustling, you know, dealing. And I got lucky, man. I got lucky. My buddy kicked me out of the house. I ended up moving back in my mom's house. And, you know, I got clean for a little bit. And that's actually whenever I found martial arts. And so that's whenever I started training MMA, you know, and I started training MMA for a little bit, man. And I loved it. Oh man, it was back. It kind
of reminds you of wrestling, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, cause it's a team sport, but it's just all you in there, baby.
Yeah.
You know, and so I enjoyed it. And I did that for a while, man. And I ended up finding a coach who, you know, again, man, I thought he was a father figure, you know, and I thought he had that, you know, he took me under his wing. You know, we trained together. Anything you wanted me to do, man, I was in there. You know, let's train, let's work. I'll work harder than anybody else. My rib actually popped out because I overtrained one day. You know, and so actually there's a little bump over here because one of them did actually, you know, came out of place. And so, I mean, I was, you know, I was into it as much as you could be. And I had so I did 3 fights. I did 1 amateur fight. And my coach was like, well, we can't find you any more amateur fights. We're going to go pro. It's a bad idea because once you go pro, you can't go amateur anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And so you can have 20 amateur fights and that doesn't carry on, but your pro record carries with you throughout your life. And so anyways, I did my first pro fight. I ended up losing that one. I did my second one and it was actually a local fighter and his name is Blue Jay. And he was close to 40 at the time. And so we saw like a promo video of him and man, it was like a 30, 45 second video. My coach looked at me. He goes, look, 30, 45 seconds. This man has no gas. You're good to go. This dude is an animal. All right. Like that was
pretty scary.
Yeah. And so I didn't even realize it, man. And so 30 seconds in, man, I get knocked out. You know, I go in for an overhand right. He comes up with a knee. He hits me in my face, broke my orbital socket, broke my nose. And I was out, man. And so I wake up, I look at my coach. I'm like, are we still fighting? He goes, no. I'm like, are we still fighting?
That's funny. That's funny.
And so that was that, man. I mean, I got real lucky. The organization had insurance. You know, I had to go get surgery on it. And man, I did end up doing recovery. And I came back and I ended up training with somebody who.
So you kept fighting after that?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Oh, dude, yeah.
That sounds awful.
You couldn't break me down, brother.
It sounds awful, dude. I wouldn't want nothing to do with that.
And it was part of, that guy, that coach, man, like I said, he was kind of like a father figure, man. And so, like, if we're still fighting, we're still fighting,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm with you. And so later on, man, I ended up training at a place. It was out in Greenville, and I didn't realize it, but he had issues with one of the people that I went out to go fight with. Or the person that drove me, man, because I didn't really have a reliable car at the time, and this was like maybe an hour and a half away. And so I get back, I talked to him, I told him, and I think he like canceled class that day. And he calls me later in the day. He goes, "You know what? You're fired. You're done. You mean nothing. We're not working together anymore, man." Broke me.
It was because you told him that other person had a problem with him?
No. It's because he had a problem with the person that I went to go train somewhere else at.
Oh, but did you even know that they had a problem with each other going into it?
No, I had no idea. I had no idea that he had these issues going on. I mean, even back then, I didn't really care much about the drama and stuff, but I had no idea that he had any issues with this person. And I mean, the school that I went to go train at, actually they have a fighter. They were coming out with really good fighters at the time. And so it was basically, man, I just want to get in here. I want to be the best person I can be. Let me go over here and train.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And so when that happened, man, I relapsed again because, again, it is opening up that old wound.
Yeah.
Right? My father didn't want me. He didn't want me. I'm not that important. I'm not special. I'm not, I'm nobody.
That's real.
And so it didn't hurt, man. And so I went back down the same road, man. I think I was living with a couple at the time. I was living with them and their kid. I think they went out on vacation, man. I invited a friend of mine. We smoked some meth out of a light bulb inside the house. I mean, he crashed his car on the way to their house, and he still came into the house. Like, I don't know, he crashed it. He left it. He still brought all the goodies into the house, and then, we sitting there smoking out of a light bulb. Because when you're high all the time, there's only one main goal.
And that's to get high again.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was, man. And so it was that, drinking, smoking, still doing coke. And I kind of just, scooted around at this time, man. I really didn't have much direction. And then I was living in the east side of Fort Worth. At this time, I was probably 20, I don't know. It was 20, 23, 24, 25, about 24, 25. And I was living on the east side of Fort Worth. And I had a buddy of mine, man. He was like, "Hey, man, I'm going to start building fences for Lowe's, man. Do you want to join?" I was like, "Sure, why not? Let's do that." And so I started working with him. And I didn't have a car at the time, so I was riding the bus, and then one day I didn't make it because my phone had broken the day before. The bus was late. If you're familiar with Fort Worth Metro,
whatever it's called,
they're never on
the
time.
Transportation.
Yeah, they're not on time at all. And so I ended up being late. I didn't have a phone to call him. It was a Saturday. He wasn't there when I got there. I went back home, fixed my phone, and then by Monday I gave him a call. I was like, "Hey, man, what's going on? Where do you want me to show up at?" He goes, "Dude, you're fired." He goes, "You didn't show up." I was like, "Okay." And so then 3 days later, I get a call from a fence company that we were doing work with. They're like, "Hey, he told us you were fired. If you want a job, we need a guy." And so that's whenever I started learning how to do construction. So that got me into construction. And about 6 months in, I started my own fence company. So I was working with them, and then on the weekends, I was working by myself. Man, and I mean, I was working, like from 6 to 9 on the weekends, man, just hustling, doing everything I could. I was semi-sober during that time. I mean, I would still get high all the time. I would still drink every now and then, do a little coke. And because I still had the same habits. I wanted to get something else, man, but I just, figure out how to get money, right? And so that was how to do it. And so I took that business, and then I started working with a buddy of mine for maybe like $100 a day, learning how to flip a house. So it's learning tile, drywall, paint. I took all that, learned it, and flipped that into a business doing home remodels.
Okay.
And that one, man, I had for about 10 years. And for 10 years, I really never got it off the ground, man. I learned how to fail at business. During that time, I'm blessed to have, the friends I did, and they would hey man, we got a job over here. You know, if you need a job over here, you know, I had a family member of mine hire me, man. And, you know, during this time I was still, you know, my drug usage was up and down. And sometimes, you know, I'd be on a job site, I'd be high and, you know, or just, you know, drunk from the night before. You know, I'd be like, well, it's my company. I'm going to go out and go get a margarita at lunch and then try to show back up and try to talk to a client, man. I mean, I was just reckless.
Yeah.
You know, because I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? This is, you know, you're a business owner, right? You don't have to have any responsibility. Like you're going to make it. This is it, right? You know, and I was very, like on social media, I was super successful, right? Like, you wouldn't know anything, you know, and I realized, dude, I was so full of it. And finally, man, it came to a head. And so on the summer of 2020, I had some friends of mine who were having a COVID party. And so basically it was a pool party over at their house. I go over there and we're drinking. And what do you need when you're already drunk?
Something to sober you up a little bit?
Nah, more alcohol.
Okay.
So on that one, yeah.
Probably could go both ways.
It could. So on that one, man, it was more alcohol. And I was like, well, I'm going to I'm going to go get some more tequila. And I was out of it. And so anyways, I get in my truck, I'm going, and I drive, and I blow through the stop sign with a cop on the other side. And so he gets curious. He makes a U-turn, and I see those beautiful Christmas lights in my rearview mirror. So I pull over, and he's like, you know, there was a stop sign back there. And I was like, yeah, I saw it. And so
is that what you told him?
Yeah.
That probably wasn't a good way to. You're probably better off lying on that situation.
He was like, how much have you had to drink today? I was like, you know what? I'm not going to answer any questions. And so I didn't answer any questions. I didn't do any tests on there. I didn't do any field sobriety. They ended up having to take me to the hospital to pull my blood. I already knew what it was. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I already knew I was going in. There was no way me and him were buddies at that point. And so that's one of the big things that ended up changing, man. And so I was really hoping my case would get lost in the other sea of COVID cases, you know, since courts were backed up.
Yeah.
It didn't happen. So I had to go get a lawyer. So I got a lawyer. I was like, look, man, you know, what can I do to really, you know, to kind of look good in front of the judge?
Yeah.
He's like, well, you know, you can go to AA. I was like, I've been to AA before. I'm not going again. I don't like it. He's like, well, you can do, you know, community service. I was like, dude, I can barely help myself, less likely somebody else. He's like, well, all right, man, how about therapy? And I was like, okay. And at that time, I'd already been thinking about therapy. And I'm not sure if anyone believes in angels, man, but I walk into this office and it is Mother Mary herself. And it was one of the sweetest women I've ever been blessed to know. And I still keep her updated with my progress now. But I got into her office, man. I started talking with her, man. And she was the first person who ever started teaching me about masculinity, about what is it like to be a man. You know, how do you deal with these issues that you're dealing with? And through that, you know, I started going hiking, started hitting gyms, started working out, and I started hiking with a friend of mine. And so we were hiking, we go back and forth, you know, and me and her would talk, and, you know, got on the subject of, man, I want to work with young men, you know, because I understand where they're coming from. And she's like, well, you should join Toastmasters. And I was like, okay. And so I decided to join Toastmasters. And that's really where I started to have a lot of healing, a lot of understanding who I was, a lot of getting over my fears and anxiety.
So what is maybe I thought Toastmasters was like a speaking class where they teach you how to speak and stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, it's a public speaking club.
That's what, yeah.
It's actually a leadership and public speaking club.
Okay, so there's more to it than just getting up there and talking. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So you have speeches. You can do 5 to 7 minute speeches. You have table topics. And so a table topic is basically like an off the cuff question. So you ask me a question, I give you a 1 to 2 minute speech about it. And then they have evaluations. And I love evaluations because you'll do a speech and then someone will evaluate your speech.
Okay.
So they say, hey, you did really good over here. Here's where you could improve a little bit.
So you also have to learn like constructive criticism.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have to learn how to listen.
Yeah, that's good.
And then they give you a challenge. And then the challenge is like, okay, so next time I'm going to work on doing that. Man, and I just jumped in head first. And at, my first speech was horrible. When I say it was bad, I mean, it was bad. My joke that I started off with fell flat. No one laughed. No one did anything. No movements. And I was like, oh God, this is going to be a long speech. And then so I did my speech, man, and it was very, very vulnerable. It was very open. And after I got in with my speech, they were like, we couldn't really understand what you said, but good job.
Yeah. No, did it kind of hurt a little bit? Like, did you feel like you failed in that, or that you messed up in it, or were you like going into it? Did you know, hey, this is my first time, I'm going to give myself grace?
No, man. I a little arrogant, man. I was like, I'm going to do great. This is a great speech. I spent so much time on this. I'm going to go in there and kill it, man. And so it was a little shock to the ego, when necessary. And, I took their advice. I took what they said, and I just started taking every open speaking time that they had an open spot for a speaker.
Yeah.
I started taking it. So I started taking it. My time to write speeches decreased. Having paper to memorize my speech decreased. I started memorizing my speech using voice. And by the end of it, I mean, I can go up there now and I think of 3 to 5 key topics I want to talk about. I remember my bullet points, and then I can make a speech from 5 to 7 minutes off of those 3 bullet points.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, I mean, it's a great skill.
Yeah, it really is.
Networking, dating.
It's literally the biggest fear of everyone in the United States is public speaking.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I don't blame them.
See, I love it. I've always just enjoyed it. I think it's because I'm just like, I like the attention from it, I think, or something. I'm not sure what it is, but I've always enjoyed public speaking.
Yeah. It's funny, man, because you get the opposites, man. You get some people like you that love it.
Yeah.
And then we've had one girl that, she was put up there on a table topic, and she ran it out of the room crying. Literally,
like, just took off.
Yeah. Yeah.
We
were like, oh my God. Yeah. You're like, we kind of felt bad, but it's part of it, man. You get up there and you're like, I don't want to look foolish or goofy or dumb, but I mean, you're going to.
So it's 2020 when you started Toastmasters, when you started getting your life together, like when you really started?
No. After I got arrested, man, I was still smoking and drinking and trying to get around that, the blower as much as possible. If I could, I still had jobs going on. I was still doing stuff, and I was still a wreck. Yeah. So, I didn't start seeing a therapist until 2021. And actually my relapse. So after I did that, after I hit that one, I ended up getting sober for a little bit, and then I relapsed on April 2022. And that was the last time I relapsed, man. I had one of my best friends passed away in September the year before. He was 36. A few months later, my aunt passed away due to a heart attack. And then on New Year's that year, another one of my best friends passed away due to a heart attack. And that was another key moment because it started putting life into perspective. I always thought, at 30, man, I was going to go skydiving at 30, man. But at 30, I was singing 21 Savage, living like a rock star, doing cocaine in the corner of somebody's yard, building a fence. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I thought I was king of the world, man. I wasn't, man. I was lost. I was lost, lonely, or unsure. And so when we actually went out to go celebrate Mike Ross's life, and I forget where we were, man. It was in Georgia, I think, but it was like right on the coast. Oh, sugar beaches. It was beautiful, man. We went out with a group of friends, man, that I've known since like high school. And there's still a great group of guys, man. And there's still probably still supportive of whatever I do, man. And so I already have a lot of love for them. But we went out there and I went skydiving for the first time. And it was just eye-opening, man. And it was one of those moments that really started putting more things into perspective, right? Because it's a slow shift and it didn't happen automatically.
Yeah.
I used to have days, man, where my biggest win was just getting out of bed, because what am I doing with my life? I've thrown it away. I've lost my life. There's nothing else I'm going to be able to do. There's nothing I have going for me right now. I'm living in my stepmom's house. I don't have a car. I'm in debt to everybody I know. I just got my car repoed, right? I don't have a successful business anymore. I don't have a business anymore. And I mean, it's just, it's what am I doing with myself, right?
Yeah.
So just being able to get out of bed, not going to relapse and not going to do anything. I mean, that was my biggest win.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's a part of depression.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I was just, there's times, man, where I was starting to try to talk to women, and I was just, I was wanting them to be the thing that I was looking for.
Yeah.
And whenever you put a person on a pedestal like that, man,
They're going to let you down.
yeah, of course. Why wouldn't they, man? I mean, you don't need to put people on pedestals.
Only God can be on that pedestal.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And so that's what happened, I mean, so there were like days, man, that I'd get into the shower, man. I started ugly crying, because I just didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And so, it's a slow process to build yourself back up to get to where you want to go. And the more that you're looking at it from the ground level, the slower it's going to be. And it's not until you slowly, very slowly start putting everything together, putting it into place, that you start to accelerate. And it's all exponential, right? So 1 + 1 is 2, 2 + 2 is 4, 4 + 4 is 8.
Yeah.
And it starts picking up. And it starts picking up a lot quicker and a lot quicker and a lot quicker, man. And so, when I was going through my stuff and I was getting clean, I got rid of all my friends. I got rid of everybody I knew, or they just dropped off. I mean, it was just kind of what happened. And I had to go through life for a little bit, man, with no friends. I was blessed to have my stepmom and my parents and, my little brother, and they were in my life, man, and they were in my corner. And I was very blessed to have them. I was very blessed to have a place to stay. And through that progress, what I ended up doing is I was like, well, I've had my own company. Let me become a project manager for another construction company. And so I did that for a while. I tried to find a job, and I was really bad at interviewing. And, so I interviewed for a few places. I got to like the third round. It never really worked out. And then I found the place where I'm at right now, which is Blue Hawk Construction. And, they needed a project manager. And slowly through it, I became project manager. I do estimating, sales. I do their networking. I do their social media. And it's just slowly, with the skills that I've learned on the outside and with them, I've been able to really build, who I am.
That's cool.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing still? That's what you're currently doing?
That's what I'm currently doing. I do a lot of motivation. I do a lot of motivational content. I'm working on being a motivational speaker, and I'm working on being a coach.
I love that. I think that's all good stuff.
Yeah.
And especially when you have the experience that you have, like you've been through it yourself. Mm-hmm. And I feel like we make the best coaches, because we're not just telling you, hey, here's what you should do. We're saying, hey, look what worked for us.
Yeah.
Or look what we've been through. Like I was where you're at and now I'm here. Look, you can do this too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's so huge. So one of the things, and I really like your content. It's all positive, motivational. Though you say the one thing a lot, and it's funny because someone that I really, really admire, his name's Bedros Keuilian. Yeah. He says the same thing, that many are called, or few will hunt. What is this? Many are called, but
all are called, few will answer.
Yeah, something like that. And he says his is a little different. His will say, I don't remember. I can't even. I'm just trying to think of it off the head, but I can't think. It's something about fewer. I don't know. It's something similar like that. It's not the exact same thing. It's actually something about few will hunt or something like that.
It's in the Bible, Matthew. I want to say it's like Matthew 19. I'm not 100% sure, but it's the parable of the king's wedding.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. So the king's wedding, the parable of the king's wedding is the king invites a whole bunch of people that he knows. He invites everybody he knows, and none of them show up. And so they're like, you know what? We have this giant feast. Go out there, bring the garments, invite everyone you can. Homeless, it doesn't matter. Go out there and invite them. And so all these people get it dressed up. They all come in and they're all called in here. And then he finds somebody he's not dressed in the garments, and he kicks him out. He goes, how dare you not show up, presentable, get out of here. And the thing is that everybody's called, but few will respond with excellence.
That's good. I really like that. So then some of the content that I've seen, not that long ago, you posted something that I think that you're still kind of currently pushing, is your 5 keys to failure. Yeah. And that's really what I was excited about. I wanted to see if you would come on and kind of share those with our listeners and just kind of see what they could go from there. So hopefully, if you could just take off with that, I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So the 5 keys of failure, everyone knows the keys to success, right? Consistency, grit, dedication, determination, right?
Yeah.
But I have the 5 keys to failure because that's what you're going to encounter when you're going through this transition in life. It's what you're going to encounter whatever transition you're going through in life. So the first key to failure is it's okay to look like a fool. And I think that one was huge for me.
That's so good.
Because, you don't want to look like a goofball, right? Everyone wants to look like Michael Jordan the first time they step out there on the basketball court, man. But, he had to look foolish before he got out there, man. So I make a lot of content now. And when I first started making content, I took my phone and my camera into the corner of a gym to the quietest place, and I would make these videos. And I was like, man, I'm that goofball in the gym making these goofy videos. And now I'm a lot more open with it. And so I'm still that goofball in the gym.
No, it's so cool though.
Videos.
I love that. And I respect that so much because that's one of my biggest things is I'm so worried about what everyone else is going to think about me. And if my first one isn't going to get a couple thousand likes, I'm like, I don't want to do it. Like, I don't want to have that one that has 3 likes. Like, so then I just don't do it. I've even posted stuff before that I thought like, all right, I'm gonna start doing this motivation stuff. I post it. It's got like 6 likes after an hour. I'm like, oh no, delete. I delete. You know what I'm saying? Like,
sure, yeah,
like
absolutely.
I've literally, and it's like all over likes. Like, who knows that the content that I made could have really helped somebody, but I'm so concerned about who sees it and what they think about it that I don't even allow it to get out there.
And what's crazy about that is that I've had more people talk to me in private that do not react to anything I put out. They're like, dude, because of you, I've started working out. Because of you and your stuff, man, I feel more motivated.
And
because
see, that's
of your
what,
story,
so
I'm
good.
stopping to drink.
Yeah, that's so good.
But they don't respond to anything that I put out. But they'll come up to me in private, man, like, this and this and this.
See, that's good.
Yeah, you have no idea who's watching you.
Yeah.
Because people are watching you and they're not telling anybody else.
Yeah. And they're not like pressing like, you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that they didn't get something from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
and so it's huge. And so that's been a big motivation as well, that I'm like, okay, maybe it didn't seem like I had a bunch of traction or this or that, but I know someone out there is getting something from it, man. And so just, and it's for a bigger goal, right? Here's a stepping stone for what I really want.
That's true. And you have to start by just posting, but like content. It might not even be good. I've listened to so many professional social media guys that are like, dude, just post it and don't even look. Just post and don't even look. Just post. You know what I mean? Like just post and stay away from like, just don't even like worry about it. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, this had a bad comment. Like, dude, I posted one with me and my son and we were doing hammer curls together. And I thought it was like, oh, that's such a cute video. Look at him and his son. And dude, it hit, right?
Yeah.
And all these comments, oh, look at the kid's form. Look at the kid. I was like, dude, I was just trying to put like a cute video of me and my son. And dude, I got ate up. Dude, I deleted that thing so fast. And it was actually like, it was going to go. Like, you know what I mean? That was like taken off. It had thousands of views in like the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
All these negative comments. And I'm like, delete.
Yeah. It's wild, man. I mean, I've stopped caring about what people think, except for my friend group and my circle around me, the group of men that I put around me. Because if you really go and you start looking at comments, man, you're like, oh, these are the people who have an opinion.
Yeah.
Well, why do I even want to listen to this person?
I know. It's so stupid. Like, as I say it, I'm like, that's so dumb. But it's still
sure.
Just being honest with how I am.
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, I think that 99% of people want to be accepted and loved, even if it's, by somebody they don't know, right?
No,
they like that praise.
Yep.
And so that's right. That's why it's really good to start to learn how to love yourself.
Definitely.
And that's, that was a big key for me, even in relationships and in dating, man. If you try to look for that person to fill whatever void is inside you, man, you're not going to find it. You're going to have to find it inside yourself first. And that's a journey in and of itself.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's good. What's the second one?
So the second one is running delays the inevitable. So you can run from it. You cannot want to deal with it. I ran from a lot of things in my past, and I had to deal with every single thing I ever ran from.
Yeah, and that's
all of them. I mean, you don't get to run. Right? You're just delaying what has to happen. And so here's a quick one, man. And one of the things that that still freaks me out, and I don't like failing on is cold calling. And so I've been doing a lot of cold calling lately. And I was like, I really don't want to do this. And so I'm like, you know, it needs the kitchen's a little bit dirty. I need to clean the kitchen. You know what I mean? Let me go clean this over here.
But you still have to make those calls. That's good.
Yeah. And so I started making them, man. And I've had a lot of success with it. You know, even with the first few of them, you know, God, so nervous on the phone. Like, you put me up in front of a crowd, cool, I'm good, let's go, man. You put me on the phone where nobody can see me, it's nerve-wracking. So
it's hard. That's like that's why I don't knock on doors to sell roofs.
Yeah.
Because it's so awkward, and I'm good at it. I've done it. I normally sell a roof every time I do it, but for some reason, it's that there's a couple people that look at me crazy, like, "Why are you knocking on my door, dude?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, it's awful."
Because I'm a winner and I want this sale.
Really, because I want to help you get a new roof, but then it's like, but 50 people have already done this.
Sure. You know,
that's really similar with that.
And so that's one of the big things I had to learn. And so you can't run away from anything in life. The third rule is learn from your failures.
Yeah.
You can keep on hitting the same, you know, the same header. You can keep on hitting that same thing, man. You keep on making the same bruise on your head, and you're going to have to deal with that same mistake over and over and over again. And it doesn't matter until you learn from that one. You know, the Lord's, he has his own sense of humor, and he'll keep on putting that thing right in front of you.
Oh, heck yeah. You're going to keep tripping over it. Yeah. And I don't know if it's even the Lord. It might even be the devil putting that thing. Like, if he knows, I've heard this one thing, and I heard it was really good that a pastor said, he's like, dude, you are so easy for the devil to trip up, because every time, all he's got to do is throw a picture of a fine girl on your Instagram, and here you are sinning again. Like, he knows. He doesn't even have to come up with a new playbook, because he can just keep throwing the same, or he can bring the same person around with drugs in their pocket, and you're going to keep falling for the same thing. Like, the devil doesn't even have to get creative with you. He's just going to keep throwing the same playbook.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's really
crazy.
good. Yeah.
Okay. I like that one. I like that. And so it's true, man. You know, you end up having these you're going to find yourself in the same situations, man. And so you got to learn from the failures. Maybe the failure happens because you keep on hanging out with the same person you used to hang out with, man. Get away from them, right? Go be lonely somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Literally. Go get out in nature. Go hiking, right?
That's good.
You know, say what you want about, you know, Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth, whatever. We have a ton of parks around here to go hiking in. You know, there's plenty of green out here to kind of escape from just for a little bit.
That's really good advice, actually.
You know, and find a men's group. You know, I mean, you may not like church, and you may have plenty of reasons not to like church, but go somewhere and find a men's group and just give it a shot. Give it a chance, man. Some of the biggest growth I've had is whenever I found a men's group in church. Now I have a men's group of men around me. We all work out. We all have our own businesses and stuff going on. And so, I mean, that took time to develop.
Yeah.
I had to go find something that was really basic at first to understand what it meant to build that foundation, right? And so, okay, well, these are how the men who, you know, they have careers, they have wives, they have kids, that's how they act.
Yeah.
How can I do what they're doing?
No, it's so good. I have a men's group that I'm going to have my group of guy friends that are super tight, but then we also have our men's group every Monday night.
Nice.
And one of the things the biggest thing, for one, the accountability aspect is huge.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have men checking on you and like making sure that you're good, or that you can't go to when you have stuff going on, you're just holding it inside, you're eventually going to lash out at something.
Yeah.
And the accountability aspect, I have to have that. Like, I have to have men checking on me. Hey, what's going on with this? Are you staying clean? You know what I mean? Are you doing this? Are you doing that?
Yeah.
How are you treating your wife?
Yeah.
How is your prayer life? Like, asking you those hard questions. Are you in your word? Like, if you don't have men that are asking you questions like that, if it's more like, hey, bro, you want to go to the club? Or, hey, let's go get, you know what I mean? Like, and that was my old conversations.
Yeah.
Hey, you see that chick? She's fine. Like, you know what I mean? Or like, have you seen so-and-so? She's like, you know, those were my old conversations. Now it's literally our men's group. Hey, man, how much time do you spend in your word this week? Like, that's a regular question that my friends are asking.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really makes you kind of calibrate like what you're doing. You know, I had a buddy of mine over there at the gym the other day. You know, I want to do another bodybuilding show at the end of the year. And he's like, hey, man, so how are those work goals coming along? And I was like, Another reason why I didn't want to do the cold calls is because, you know, I was like, you know, I can, you know, I'll get away with it, you know. And he has held me accountable, you know, that, look, you said you were going to do this. This is what you're going to do.
Yeah.
You're going to make these, but you got to put your nose to the grindstone.
Yeah, that's
it's like, you're right. You know, and so it motivates you to stay on track and true to your own word. and it's okay to struggle holding your own words and holding your being accountable to yourself, because we all fall short and it's part of it. But having men that hold you up when you have a moment of weakness is huge.
That was so good. You just said something I want to hit on, and this is to anybody who ever is feeling like depressed, anxious, isn't happy with where they're at. One of the first things that you can do to actually start changing that stuff is doing the things that you say you're going to do. Mm-hmm. Like if you make a commitment and you do it, you're going to build confidence in that. Then you make another commitment and you do it, you're going to build more confidence. What I see so many times nowadays is men saying, oh yeah, I'm going to start working out on Monday. Did they work out? No. I'm going to start eating right on Monday. Did they start? No. So every time they made this declaration and didn't do it, that's a knock off your self-esteem. You're in your mind, you're okay, I'm a failure. I'm a liar. Yeah. I'm not keeping my word. I'm worthless. Like do what you say you're going to do. And I swear to God, you will just start growing in who you are, that discipline. And like, it's so good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you might not keep track of it and your friends might not keep track of it, but that subconscious.
It knows.
Yeah. He knows exactly what's going on.
Yeah, man, I failed again. I messed up again.
Yeah.
And dude, and just start with small stuff, man. Start with, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times this week. Like, right. You know what I mean? I'm going to go for a walk 3 times this week. And you know what? I'm not even going to monitor my meal plan, but I'm going to make sure that I eat 150 grams of protein every day. I'm not even going to get detailed into the other stuff.
Yeah.
But I'm going to drink a half a gallon of water. Like, start with these small goals that you can do. Right. Start hitting those every day. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden they get better and better and better. And now you have discipline and you're, man, I don't know. I could go on and on about that because that's literally how we stack our life, you know?
It is. It is. And that's how you stack those wins.
Yeah.
Which is a great segue into the next one, because the fourth key to failure is to set goals that stretch you.
So good.
Man. And so the human, we were so adept at being okay in the situation that we were really uncomfortable with, man, maybe 3 months ago. And so we recalibrate real quick. You know, ask anyone who's been working out in the gym and who's real big. You know what I mean? They're like, I'm just kind of like the small guy. You know what I mean? And, you know, it's just never enough.
Because your goals have elevated.
Well, the goals have elevated, man. And you kind of look at yourself and you're like, I don't know, you know? And so you don't always see that progress that's happening over time. And so what you need to do is you need to consistently have goals that are going to stretch you, that are going to put you in an uncomfortable position, that are going to give you something to shoot for.
Yeah, no, I think goal setting is one of the most important things. It's one of the things I push on the kids in the mentorship all the time.
Yeah.
Because I went through life just with, like, imagine, I think of it like a hallway, right?
Yeah.
And if I don't have goals, I'm just bouncing off the walls, just trying to get down this hallway. But if I have an end goal down at the end, I can skip the walls and I can go straight towards it. Like, I lived my life just, whatever direction I get pulled in.
Yeah.
And I realized after I'm freaking 26 years old and have nothing and I'm a drug addict, and you know what I mean? Because I had no end goal.
Yeah. Yeah, you had nothing you were shooting for.
Yeah, nothing.
Right? And so, when you don't have anything to shoot for, when you have no, like, vision, you have no passion, no purpose, no nothing, absolutely. You're gonna go wherever life takes you, and that's not a very fun river to go down.
Mm-mm.
You know?
It's not. Because you have no choice in where you end up.
No, you don't. And you're not normally going to end up in a place that's
some people get lucky,
nice.
But that's very rare. Very rare.
You know, there's always that one person that, hits the lottery, but it is rare. It is rare. And I'd rather take my chances into my own hands, and have as much accountability and responsibility for wherever I go and wherever I end up. Because at least then I'm always in control. I have control. I have power.
Yeah, it's good
at that point. And so you always want to have some kind of goal that's going to push you, that's going to get you out of your comfort zone. And the 5th one is to embrace the moment. One of my favorite speaking techniques is the pause. If we're sitting here and we're having a conversation and I say something that's just is full of depth and I keep on speaking, you're not really going to take it in. You need a moment to take it in, to understand it, and to just hold on to it for a second. When you're playing classical music, it's not just the notes that are the beautiful spots. It's the silent spots that create the depth in that music. And so the same thing is in life, is that you need to really just take a step back sometimes. You need to bring your head up. You need to breathe and just embrace the moment for what it is.
That's good. I definitely don't do a good job of that.
Sure. Yeah. And I think anyone who ends up, probably coming from addiction and then starts just being a super high achiever and just there's not enough. There's not enough. I need more stuff to do. It's hard to bring your head above water for a second and you're like, man, dude, I just look how far I've come. Like, look.
When you say be in the moment, I think that something that hits over me, like I feel like a conviction about, is just being so consumed by my phone. Like I feel like my phone takes me out of the moment at all times because it literally controls me. Like my phone 100% controls my life, and it's awful. But I feel like I'm never in the moment because I'm already on my phone planning what's next or figuring out something else. I'm never just like being present is awful. Like it's not fair to my family, my son, you know what I mean? My wife's talking to me. I don't know what she's talking about. Like my son's saying, dad, and I'm over here scheduling an install on a roof. And it's like, I'm missing the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And, always thinking about what you got next, what you're going to do next. Yeah, man. And so take those moments with your family, to do something. I like smoking cigars personally, man. And so I'll go to the cigar lounge, and maybe bring a book or just, sit down and just kind of people watch a little bit,
I like that
Keep
too.
my phone in my pocket, smoking a cigar, enjoy the music and just enjoy it for what it is.
I think that's really good. I need to come up with a way to do that. I need to be intentional about doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that's really good, man. Can you tell our listeners like how they can find you on all the social media stuff and stuff like that so that they can continue to watch your content?
Absolutely. On anything you're going to find me, it's going to be Orator of Divinity. No spaces, just one word, Orator of Divinity. And you'll find me on Instagram, TikTok. You'll find me on Facebook. And
do you do YouTube?
I do, but I'm not really consistent with it.
Okay, I would recommend you start trying to push on that because YouTube is one of the ones that it's the fastest to monetization for sure.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
well, maybe I do need to.
No, for real, it really is.
Sure.
And it's crazy how fast you can blow up on YouTube. You get one short that's out there and it just takes off. And
okay,
I would definitely consider doing that because you have good content.
I appreciate it.
So it's Orator of Divinity on all social media platforms, even Facebook, or is Facebook under your name?
Facebook is underneath my name.
Yeah. Is it
Jeffrey R. Mercier? Mercier.
How do you spell it for him?
So Jeffrey is Jeffery and Mercier. Mercier.
Interesting. I wasn't sure. I said Mercer, and he said, that's fine. We can go with that. It's like my last name. My last name's Surface, like the surface of a table, but everyone's like, Surface? I get that all the time, and I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. It does look funny. We'll just roll with whatever you want to call me.
Yeah.
Bro, thank you so much for doing this. I'm excited to put this out. This content will be great for anyone, kids, fathers, husbands, just any men in general, women. It's great. It's going to go to the prison so the inmates can hear this.
That's awesome.
And it's kind of like, because something that's so important when it comes to failure, if for the guys that are locked up or girls that are locked up, is like going to prison and failing. If I wouldn't have failed and gone to prison, I wouldn't have the life that I have today. Like prison was the absolute best thing that ever happened to me. Because while I was in there, I was able to take advantage of every opportunity that we had. And I planned my entire time in there of, okay, when I get out, how can I be prepared for this next opportunity? Didn't sit in there feeling sorry for myself, blaming the government, blaming the police, I was literally like, okay, I did this to myself. What's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And that's what I recommend if you guys are watching this, because
absolutely,
you still have, you're coming home eventually, some of you might not, but even if not, you have a plan in there. You know what I mean? Like, there's still purpose for you. Maybe you're supposed to be bringing people in prison to Christ, or maybe you're supposed to be teaching GED to men in prison, or maybe you're just supposed to be there to help people who are consider committing suicide, or, like you still have a purpose either way.
Yeah.
Again,
absolutely.
Bro, thank you for being here. Do you want to say anything before we sign off?
Yeah, man. I really hope it gives somebody hope. I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of us are looking for. And, it's crazy because I used to hang around people who did drugs and just had a bunch of bad activities, and now I hang around people who used to do drugs and had bad activities, and they've all they've all changed and became stronger
That's good.
and better men.
That's so good.
And you have a resume that you can't buy. People can go to school, they can go to UTA, they can go to all these places, but you have a resume that you cannot buy. And that means more than a piece of paper. And so make sure that you can turn that, whatever bad's happened, into something good.
That's good. Really good.
Because you can. And you can absolutely become the best person that you want to be. And it's all within your power. And no one can take that from you.
I love that. Let me ask you one quick question. And I almost forgot about this. And I didn't tell you to prepare for this beforehand. So we'll see what you can come up with. If you could give 16-year-old Jeff Mercier one piece of advice when you were 16 years old, what do you think it would be? It's a tough question, but.
It is a tough question. And if I could give him one piece of advice, it'd be to keep going. I would not change anything about my life at all. And I would never say that I wanted to change anything, no matter the good and the bad that's happened, because it's brought me to this place that I'm at right now. And I'm stronger and I'm able to help others in this position. And so I'd happily do it all again.
Well, that's good. So just keep pushing, keep going. Yeah, that's good. That's good advice. Anybody listen, remember that you're loved and you're forgiven and there's nothing you can do about it.
Absolutely.
Peace.